Hi, welcome back to the 5th episode of the Afterbell podcast. You're joined by me and Harry again. Today we've got another great episode, actually. We're talking about ghost stories today, or supernatural experiences, ghost stuff like that. And it's something we're both quite interested in, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think the whole, explaining ghost stories, it's always fascinated me. When I was younger, it always used to freak me out a little bit, but now since I've got older, I could talk about it for hours, and we almost did. To be fair, this is a bit of a longer episode, but we do think it's really, really fascinating.
So we've got two guests on today, who both have experiences sort of with something supernatural, something really unexplainable, and they're interesting stories. So we've got Emily, who happens to be my girlfriend. She's got some really sort of creepy things to do with the house. And then we've got Ella on as well, who has been involved in two just very weird occurrences that
can predict the future.
Yeah, that she can supposedly predict the future. So that's something to look out for. But really enjoyed recording this, so hope you enjoy.
Yes, take it away.
Hi, you two are the first guests to be on at the same time. This is, you're making podcast history right now. How do you feel about that?
I don't think it's literally podcast history. I think two people have been on one podcast at the same time before.
Our podcast history, I mean.
Our podcast history, yeah.
So you two have come on to, basically, we're just going to talk about any kind of ghostly experience or just creepy, supernatural, anything like that. And you two have got quite interesting stories that we thought would be cool to share. Do you want to start?
Yeah.
So, when and how did this all begin for you and what you get? Because I've heard this before. I don't think Harry has, have you?
No, not before reading briefly about what's happened, but I'm still very intrigued to actually hear it.
So, Go ahead. Tell us how it started.
So, it's 5 years ago. I have a really big family. So the 6 of us that live in the house, I have 4 siblings and 2 elder siblings, and they came up for Christmas with their partners, and then my grandparents. So there's 11 people in the house. So me and all my 4 siblings were squished into my sister's bedroom, which is a bit creepy anyways. And I was lying there in bed, it was probably 1 in the morning, and I felt like someone was watching me. You get these feelings that someone is just watching you, but you're no one's actually watching me. It just genuinely felt like someone was actually there, and it was horrible. I just felt like there was just someone in the corner of the room just watching me. But it kind of just I don't know, I didn't really think much of it because I don't really believe in ghosts. I don't know. So in the morning, I went downstairs. I was talking to my dad. I was because my dad likes these kind of things, He's had ghost experience from when he was younger. So we usually talk about this stuff. And I was last night was really weird. I felt like there was someone in the room watching me at really early in the morning. And my dad was well, it's weird you say that because there's, a name written on the window from outside. So
that's pretty creepy.
Yeah. So we live in a really old house. Well, not really old. It was built in 1865. And so we have 3 floors to the house, and we were all at the top floor. And the windows are the original windows. So they're those round windows that you pull up.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't do that anymore because they've been painted so many times and they're so old and rusty. So you can't actually get them open.
Yeah, so they've been
painted shut and everything.
Painted shut, yeah.
And from the outside is written Pat, perfectly. And there's no way someone's done that from the outside because you can't open it. So when we've had window cleaners around, my dad was saying about how, they've came and they've cleaned the windows and it's gone, but it comes back.
Right, so what's the history behind the name Pat then? Do you know what that kind of links to, or? Yeah,
well, so then it just got us all talking about it that morning, and we kind of just left it. We just chat about it, oh, that's cool. It says Pat, that's weird, spooky.
How is it written on the window? Sorry.
Just perfectly, P-A-T.
So you could see it like written from left to right as you were looking out at it, or
Yeah,
was it
so-
written like as if they'd written it on the outside?
No, it's like written on, like, it's like tap has been written on the outside, but it's made to read like Pat, because if they'd written tap, like the P would have been the wrong way
Yeah.
and everything. So it's written like to faces. It's really weird.
So as if the person was on the inside
The other
building.
side, but writing it backwards.
Oh, okay.
Like the letters actually backwards.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
That's really
Yeah.
weird.
I'm getting like chills now and everything. But yeah. So my mum was going through the deeds of the house, and we've got like, you know, all the like. It's actually kind of cool, like all the old like documents that they had like from ages ago, since the house was built, like when people got mortgages on the house. So we got like the whole history of the house and all the deeds and all the legal documents, like death certificates, birth certificates for the people that lived here.
Yeah.
It's quite cool. And I was looking through it, and then she saw that there was actually someone that lived in this house, and we had the death certificate. So that kind of suggests that they like died whilst living here, of a family, and their daughter was called Patricia, so like Pat.
Short for Pat, yeah.
That's so weird.
It is really weird.
When did they die? Like recently, or
I don't know.
a long time ago?
They moved into this house in 1901.
Okay,
So
so
there was-
probably won't be that recent then.
Yeah, so I think she had a sister. I was looking at it this morning. I think she had a sister called Erin,
Okay.
and then there was someone called Ted that lived with them that had a different surname. And then
It's creepy just to know that people have lived in. Like, it's weird to think that someone's lived in your house,
Yeah,
especially
and
a long
died
time
in it.
ago, and died in it. Yeah.
my theory is because at the same time they were living here, there was a family with the surname Ellis, and like a whole family. And then there was these two girls with the surname Stabler, and Patricia being one of them. So my theory is because in my house it's so old that we've got like servant bells and everything.
Okay. Yeah.
So in my sister's bedroom, there's like servant bells and everything. And then in my parents' bedroom, which is the master bedroom, they've got like actual like push buttons for the bells.
So it's a pretty old house.
Yeah.
Do they work?
No, they don't work.
Do you think maybe the where Pat's written? Do you think maybe that could have been like her bedroom when she lived there, and that's maybe why she's writing the name there, saying like, "This is my room. You know, don't come in it." Or
Maybe because it is on the top floor and it's right next to the room with the servant bell, and it's the smallest room in the house. It's like we've all got like fairly large bedrooms, but like the rooms on the top of the floor, the top of the house, are a bit smaller, and that room is like quite small. It's a normal sized bedroom, but it's quite small in comparison to the size of the rooms and the bedrooms in this house.
Right. Yeah.
So you know, it would make sense if that was just given to like a servant, like, you know, because they wouldn't be priority.
What else has your dad experienced there? Because you were telling me about stuff that he's had in the house. What else is that?
I don't like
That's
sitting
creepy.
here with like the whole room behind me, but
we'll tell you if there's a ghost behind you.
Yeah. So upon having that conversation on the day after, well, like around Christmas time, when I felt like there was someone in the room, my dad was just telling me about how when they moved in, they had like footing upstairs, but we were all in bed. So, you know, we were all toddlers, babies when we moved in here. So we were like fast asleep upstairs, and they could hear like children like running around. We may have not even been in the house. I don't think we were even in the house. It's my mum and dad that sat downstairs. Could hear like loads of children laughing and running around upstairs. It wasn't us. It's weird, isn't it? And it makes sense.
Yeah, that's so.
It makes sense because, like, apparently, like when there's change in a house or something like that, you know, when people move in, this activity starts more. And we've definitely found whenever we speak about it, or whenever, like, when we moved in, there was a lot more activity.
Then now.
Yeah, nothing ever happens now.
Did that not bother your parents that you could hear kids laughing upstairs?
Yeah, I don't know. Because my he's unbothered by these things. You know, he's had a fair few things to happen to him in his life, and same with my mum. Like ghosty stuff, and my dad doesn't really believe they're actually ghosts. He thinks that they're just so say he thinks these events that are reoccurring events. So the children running around upstairs probably did actually happen, but the energy is just kind of rippling back.
Right. So what did he?
Yeah.
What would his reaction have been then when he heard that? Would he have just been like, "Oh, it's just the ghost children. Let's just get back to the TV show"? Or would it have been like, "Go and check it out"? Or
I don't know.
did you say he's
I'm not
unbothered?
sure.
I mean, if that happened to me, now I've never had anything in this house. Like, I'm pretty sure there's no one in it, and no one's died in it. But I would that would make me feel scared, and I would go check it out definitely. But a lot of people aren't particularly bothered, especially if it doesn't seem sort of menacing or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people relate ghost stories to sort of scary moments. But my mum says that she can smell her mum's perfume when so she knows when her mum's near her because she can smell her perfume, and that's
Really?
sort of how she
That's
knows
so
she's
strange.
in the vicinity. But she doesn't get scared of it or anything. It's never something that scares her.
Yeah.
It's more
Yeah.
just acknowledging it's happening.
For some people, that's even quite comforting,
Yeah.
to be able to
Yeah.
experience
Yeah.
that. But you've had an actual, sort of a first-hand experience, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well, this was probably about 4 years ago, so maybe a year after we'd actually discussed and found out about the whole Patricia thing. And I was laying in bed, and I was just about to turn my lights off. I was just rolled over to go to sleep. I was laying in bed, I find it hard to go to sleep. This doesn't really correlate with the story, but I find it hard to go to sleep. So I was laying in bed for literally ages, and I was just thinking, I wasn't really, I was thinking whilst I go to sleep. And then all of a sudden I can hear my door handle rattling, really, really loud. Someone was outside just shaking it like that.
Yeah.
It was so scary, but my dad and my brother are quite pranksters. So that's something my dad would do to scare me, but I don't think at 12 at night he'd come upstairs because his bedroom's downstairs, in the middle floor. I don't think he'd come upstairs to come and just randomly do that because he goes to sleep quite early. So I did.
He would know that would freak you out as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So I don't think it was him. And I was just thinking in my head, this is weird. But at first I was thinking it's probably just Louis. It's probably just my dad. And then about 5 minutes after that, there's literally scratching on the wall, and it was so horrible, and it was so loud. And when you hear a noise, so if you heard something drop on the floor, without looking, you could kind of hear whereabouts in the room it came from.
Yeah.
Whether it's behind you, in front of you, left or right. It felt like it was everywhere. And I remember thinking to myself, where is this noise coming from? What is it? It literally is coming from everywhere. I just remember feeling so, empty, in my stomach, so scared.
And you're lying in your bed at this point, with all the lights off, so it's just pitch.
Yeah,
black.
in an old house that I know's haunted. I just remember I want to move house now, and I was forever still today I'm trying to think what actually was this real?
Why does it always happen at night as well?
Yeah.
Most of the stories you've just said, they're all sort of relating to in the night or I don't understand why you never experience any of that in the daytime. It's strange.
I don't know, maybe we're more vulnerable at night, aren't we? When we're just lying in bed, you're
Yeah.
quite vulnerable.
Yeah, I guess.
And you listen more in the day. You're
Yeah.
always distracted, but if you're just trying to get to sleep,
That's true.
If you're literally just
Yeah.
lying in bed in the silence, a scratch on the wall is weird, someone shaking your door handle is weird, you think more about it. But if I just heard someone shaking my door handle now, I think it's just my sister walking past my bedroom,
Yeah.
just trying to annoy me.
yeah,
your first thought wouldn't actually be like, this is some kind of
A
ghost,
ghost.
would it?
No.
But how do you know you're not in that weird phase between like being asleep and still kind of awake, and it's sort of been like a dream, like crossed with like actual thoughts?
Or a nightmare
Yeah.
as well.
I guess, I don't know, maybe I was, but this definitely like happened to me. To me,
Yeah.
it's definitely real. But maybe I was, I'm completely open to that. But at first I never thought, I can remember what I was thinking now, because we were
Yeah.
going on holiday in a few months, and I was just thinking about, oh, it's gonna be so nice to be on holiday. So I can just
Right.
remember, I remember thinking, what I was thinking about, and I remember like the door handle, the scratching. So I don't think I can remember my dreams when I've woken up, but I can never recall you a dream now. But I can recall to you now exactly what I was thinking, exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so you're given every sign that you were awake while this was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you do after? Did you just like freeze and lay there?
Yeah. I just held myself up in my blanket and just stayed still.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's really bizarre, and everyone deals with it in a slightly different way as well, because some people, like you just laid there in fear, but some people would be like straight out that room downstairs. I don't know what I'd do. It's never happened to me.
Yeah. It honestly just terrifying.
So Ella, you've had equally spooky experiences, but not so much necessarily like with a
Yeah.
ghost, would you say? What happened with
Just
you? And
like weird. So the first one was when I was a lot younger, and it was my great granddad had died, and we were all at his house afterwards, just like speaking, and we were all in the like back end of the kitchen.
right.
So no one was in the actual kitchen. We were just sat on like the sofas, and someone else came to the door, like I think it was his friend or something, so we let him in and we were just talking, and we were going to offer him a cup of tea when the kettle just like spontaneously boiled, which was weird.
Yeah.
And we were all just like, why, like how did that happen? But we didn't think anything much of it. But then over the next like just under a week, it kept happening. Like when my nana wanted a cup of tea, it would just boil. Which, I mean, I don't really know whether there'd be an explanation for that, but I think it was meaningful for her because she was blind, and he would like always make tea
Right.
because of that. So I think she just felt like he was looking out for her,
Yeah. So
like in the wake of his death.
So that's not particularly unsettling. I mean, in some ways it is,
No.
but in other ways it's quite
Yeah.
sort of reassuring.
I think what you
Yeah.
mentioned with how when it happened once you don't really think much of it, but if it keeps happening, that's when you start like
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
really.
You don't think it's just like a one-time weird thing.
Yeah. But could this have been happening for sort of a week before he died as well? And
No,
just no one picked up on it?
no, because she was definitely shocked when it happened.
Right.
And she was like, that's never happened before. And we just didn't really know what to say. Like it wasn't a huge deal, but she was a bit jolted by it, especially because it was like the day he died. So she just kind of thought it was because of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when it kept happening, she was like, oh, I'm sure it was him. So
I mean, that's understandable. I suppose it links to sort of the idea of like a poltergeist. Is that how you say it? Like they obviously don't have more of like an evil side to them where they can like move stuff about to scare you.
right.
But you never really hear of many times they can like actually move objects in like an unharming way, just like turning
Yeah.
the switch of a kettle.
I mean,
yeah,
a lot of people say like often after like bereavements in the family and stuff, a lot of people see signs or hear something that reminds them.
Like,
that's not that uncommon, is it?
To. No, it's not. But she was never like very spiritual. Like, she didn't believe in anything.
Yeah.
But she was sure about this. I mean, yeah, there's that, you know, you believe it because you want to, but it was definitely weird because it was the fact that every single time she just like thought that she was going to have a cup of tea, like at certain times a day that she would usually have one, it happened.
And you were there as well to experience this firsthand as well.
Yeah, we were all there. Yeah.
Does it still happen today?
No, it just stopped like about a week or so after.
Bizarre.
So maybe it was just some sort of malfunction that just lasted a while and it just coincided with like when he died, but it was definitely weird.
Well, it's weird that every time she wanted a cup of tea, it started.
Is that without even like saying to someone she wanted a cup of tea? It was just her thinking?
Just like say she'd have one with breakfast or something or before bed, like it would just happen.
That is very strange.
Yeah.
But also maybe quite comforting as well at the same time.
Yeah, I think she was comforted by it because it felt like he was still looking after her.
Yeah. And you've got a second story which that I've heard, but this one to me is like a bit more freaky. Actually, I was quite disturbed by that.
It was really weird. So what happened was me and my mum, I was in year 4, we were driving to this cafe called Drewton's.
Yeah, it's fairly local, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We were just driving down the road and it was fine. And I suddenly just got this like pit in my stomach and I had this intense feeling like we were going to have a crash. And I didn't really say anything for a minute, but then I thought actually I should probably say because this feels really weird and I've never felt like this before. So I told my mum and she wasn't like, Ella, stop being stupid, like just shut up. She took me seriously because like I think I went really pale and everything. So then she started driving more carefully, like really paying attention to her hands on the steering wheel and just because she was just really sort of freaked out.
Yeah, especially since she's driving. Like
yeah, since she's driving and it was just me and I'd never said stuff like this before. So we carried on driving and we were just a bit quiet and then we went wrong and like we went down this other street and it took us about 10 minutes to get back on the main road. But when we did, there was an absolutely massive car crash right in front of Drewton's, a cafe that we were going to. Like, there was a fire engine, there were 2 ambulances, and it was between 3 cars.
Wow.
So
on the road you would have driven?
Yeah, right in front of the cafe.
Ooh.
It was really
So do you
weird.
think if you didn't take that wrong turn, that would have been you in the crash? Is that sort of the correlation you've got there?
I mean, maybe it's a chance, but even if we hadn't have gotten a crash, it's also still weird that I've had that really like intense feeling like it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then it did. Like, even if it wasn't for us, it still happened for a bunch of other people.
It's so weird. I mean, how old were you then?
Yeah.
Roughly?
Year 4, so like 8.
Right. So is there any way, you could have seen, I don't know, like an ambulance or some sort of sign beforehand that triggered you thinking this?
I really don't think so. Like, well, especially for that crash, the ambulance would have been so loud. Like,
yeah.
And you always notice it when you're on the road because you're like, oh God, like, I wonder what happened. But I don't think anything happened. And it wasn't a, like a, oh, I wonder. It was like, I know there's going to be a crash.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, well, like when you see an ambulance on the road, you never just think, like, there will be a crash. You're like, oh God, something's happened.
And it's kind of too much of like a coincidence. Like, it's like someone has sent you that message, like, Ella, there's going to be a crash, and then nothing's happened. So they've kind of like used that force to kind of make you go on the wrong turn.
Yeah, because my mum said that she wonders if she would have made the wrong turn if I hadn't said anything.
Yeah.
Because she was focusing so much on driving that she like forgot the way that she was meant to be going.
How can you remember? I mean, I know it was a long time ago, but how did you actually feel? Like, what was that sensation? Because again, I've never experienced something so innate that it actually makes me like voice it.
Yeah, it was. I almost felt calm. It wasn't like I was really stressed and I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. It was more like, right, I really just do feel that we're going to get in a car crash, and I could visualize it in my head. And I almost didn't want to open my mouth because it was such a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to sound crazy. But
to be fair, I completely understand where you're coming from there, because often when going on like a journey or somewhere, not even a journey, but I do believe in like the idea that you can like predict something that's going to happen before it's going to happen. There's a lot of stories of people who just have a gut feeling that something's about to happen, so they change the course of what they're going to do, and then that a lot of the time the event doesn't end up happening, which is strange. But sometimes, like in Ella's situation, that event does happen and you've avoided it because you've had that maybe it's a pre-warning from, you know, someone or something that's just giving you that feeling. But I don't believe in ghosts because I've never experienced one, so I can't comment on like believing in that. But I do believe in that sort of sensation of being able to predict something.
Me too. It was so strange, and we just turned the car around and drove home in silence. My mum was like, yeah, that was really, really weird. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, there's sort of nothing to say. That there's nothing reassuring that you could say in that situation.
Yeah.
To what extent do you guys both believe in like ghosts? Or I mean, you both had stuff happen to you, which is more than me and Harry. But how much do you believe? Because it's not whether you just believe there's something or not. There's a sort of spectrum.
Well, I kind of agree with what Emily was saying her dad thinks. Like, it being more about time and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, things happening...
And an energy.
Now. Yeah, like, and things from the past that are still happening now because it's just all... Like, I can't think of the word, but...
If you were to...
Time's just not linear, I guess.
It's definitely about altering your perception and the way you think about time and stuff like that, because if you believe in ghosts, then that's sort of a more understandable way of thinking about it.
It's definitely an open-minded topic.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's people who would just shut it down and be like, no, don't believe in any of it. It's all false.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah.
I could talk about ghosts all day because that is something that it interests me. Like, I would like to learn sort of more about it. And hearing people's stories really fascinates me. However, we will move on to the film/TV show of the week. But this week is like our first film that we're going to discuss. What were you guys going to talk about?
Have you watched it, Ella?
Yeah, I watched it this morning. I really loved it.
It's really good, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It was so interesting.
I've seen it too, as well, actually. I watched it a few nights ago.
I haven't.
So, yeah, Harry, you're the only one who hasn't seen it.
I'll sit back. You guys just...
who wants to just give a brief summary of what is it about?
Well, it's about this man who he buys this artificial intelligence thing to help him write and basically just organize his life. But, well, it's voiced by Scarlett. Is it Johansson or Johansson?
No, Johansson.
Yeah, Johansson. And he eventually falls in love with her. But obviously it's quite complicated because she's not a real person. So it's just sort of about like what it actually is to be in love and like
Basically, yeah, it's sort of a sci-fi like love story, Harry. But it deals with some interesting ideas about, yeah, like you said, like what it means to be in love. Would you recommend it, you two?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I'd give it 5 stars.
Would you?
Wow.
yeah, so
Yeah.
did I.
Yeah, the main guy is played by Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
And he
From
does
Joker.
another great job. But I didn't think you would give it 5 stars. Why is that?
I just thought it was really good, and like after you'd watched it,
Yeah.
Harvey, we had a discussion. I don't want to give any spoilers, but like it's not just what you think it is when you watch it. Like when you think about it more, it like about like what happens and everything. There's a lot like
Yeah.
it's I don't know. It's I don't know. Yeah.
I'll give it a shot.
I could imagine
you should.
watching it again and sort of thinking about seeing it from a different angle as well.
Yeah.
So that's probably all the time. This is probably going to be our longest episode yet, you know, with 2 people on. But it's been quite nice because I don't know. I think it makes for a better conversation between people as well.
100%.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, you two.
Yes, thank you very much.
No
Thank you
problem.
for having me.
Yeah.
Really
Thanks for
appreciate it.
having me.
Thank you.
And there we have it. That was the Ghost Stories episode. Did you learn something about ghosts, or were you fascinated by their stories?
I'm honestly truly fascinated by everything they said. We couldn't stop talking about it because it's just such an interesting topic.
Yeah, honestly, it was so hard to springboard onto the film of the week because I would have carried on talking about it for ages because everyone's story is so unique and different, and no two people have the same experiences with it. So
And everyone always seems to have one as well, like at least something you
yeah,
can bring to the table.
I couldn't really bring much personally, but hearing other people's, and I'm sure we will experience something in our lifetime
Definitely.
to do with it, but not as of yet. But theirs was definitely something to share. Quickly before we go, we'd just like to promote our social medias that have just started up. So we do actually now have an Instagram under the name After the Bell, and there'll be a link in the description, so you can go over there and follow that. We'll give you sort of teaser clips on there of like the next episode that's coming up in the next week, just to really promote the episodes, so everyone sort of
And give you a reminder as well for when it comes out.
A reminder for the time and the place where you can go to listen. So
if you want to listen each week, definitely give it a follow.
Yeah, we'd really appreciate all the follows on there. So yeah, this has been another successful week. Once again, thank you all for listening, and we will catch you on the next one.
Yep. See you later.